What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? It is your man, the Crypto Titan, and we're back. It's been a long time. It's been a long wait for another video on the Crypto Titan channel, but we are back, and it's going to be a much better, more entertaining, fun time where we get to actually look at some DeFi projects or companies and see what's going on with them. And I'm much happier about DeFi than, or I should say, rather than some of the cryptocurrency projects I was going through in the past. So we're just going to dive right into a company called Plutus DeFi. This has been recommended to me on my Twitter account. If you want to go follow me on Twitter, you can go to @TitanInc, and you'll be able to stay up to date with all of the content that I throw out there. So what is Plutus DeFi? Well, it beats me. This is my first view at Plutus DeFi, and essentially what I'm going to be doing with these videos is I'm going to provide my commentary on these different DeFi companies and projects, and basically give you guys the knowledge that I've tried to accumulate over the years in blockchain. And I'm not a wizard at DeFi, so we'll just get that out of the way. But in my journey of discovering and understanding DeFi as well, we're going to learn together. So first things first, Plutus DeFi, lend and earn. So lending with privacy, that seems to be their tagline. So you've got best interest rates, no downloads, and withdrawing anytime. So these seem to be the main features of Plutus DeFi. And now I'm not so sure what the pain points of DeFi are, because I'm just reaching around into more DeFi projects and research. So I don't know exactly what the biggest issues might be. In my opinion, from the limited knowledge that I do have, I believe it's probably related to competition, which of course there's more companies coming out that will help with that problem. So they have a little section here, so you can lend in 3 easy steps. 1,000 DAI, USDC is what happens when you click down here. Okay, so you could lend USDC and DAI. Okay, cool. Let's just take a look at some USDC. So DAI, by the way, is essentially a stable coin, but it works off of an algorithm rather than being pegged to a US fiat currency like USDC is. So let's just use USDC for example. And so you can see there's different protocols here. This is the Compound Finance Protocol. I'm not familiar with this one here. I believe this is MakerDAO, or the DAI, and the USDC currency, of course. This is the MetaMask. I'm not familiar with this logo here either. So I'll start lending now in a second, but I want to look at these other interesting metrics down here, or this information down here. So why use Plutus? You know, who is Plutus for? So Plutus upholds the core values of decentralization. That's why Plutus is DeFi as a service. So that would be DAS instead of like a SaaS, like a subscription as a service, DeFi as a service, you know. Solution focuses on user privacy, anonymity, and maintaining sovereignty over your wealth. Plutus makes it easy to enter the world of decentralized finance. Glad to hear it. So you'll have full anonymity. It's a funny word. So they are, of course, if you're a DeFi, you are supposed to be decentralized. That's kind of the point. So their solutions put decentralized and anonymity first, putting users in control of their digital entity. Privacy on DeFi, self-sovereign wealth, on-chain. Okay, so what is? So it seems like they're going for like DeFi, but with a twist on privacy. So let's look at this here. So on and off chain privacy from Tor and OpenVPN to offshore VPNs and bulletproof servers. So there must be some connection here to So you either offer on-chain privacy protocols. That seems to be what this, what the main gist here is. So the Plutus ecosystem, I want to say Pluto, but it's Plutus, is lend and earn, payroll and payments, which this is actually interesting. So you can distribute tokens to employees, contractors, and customers. Interesting. That is a very good use case or feature to have. Derivatives, utilize and execute DeFi derivatives instantly with full transparency. Okay. A simple lending solution that lets you earn up to 15% APR interest with full control and non-custodial ownership on your crypto assets. So either or. And of course, DeFi as a service, integrate our smart contracts into wallets, exchanges, institutional dark pools, and other service providers, whether front end or back. So this sounds like they've got either an API or some other access to their platform. So who is Plutus for? Of course, it's for consumers, enterprises, and service providers. So of course, that would be the service providers here. Yes, so it's API and SDK. So that would tie into this DeFi as a service point here. But I really want to know how it works. So let's see. So how does Plutus work? So Plutus is a protocol that that unifies leading DeFi protocols and blockchain infrastructure by standardizing communication between them to create and execute complex financial transactions while championing privacy, anonymity, and sovereignty. So I haven't seen a whole lot about anonymity and privacy in the DeFi space, even though obviously we're talking about decentralized applications. So this seems to be addressing this pain point of privacy in the DeFi space in particular. So whether it's switching between multiple lending protocols, trading through multiple decentralized exchanges, or utilizing numerous base layer chain, Plutus plans to be at the center of it all. So Plutus is like a little Lego piece at the top here. All these other protocols are at the bottom. So Plutus seems to be, and this is a very basic web page, but I kind of like it. It's minimalistic, simple. So let's go ahead and start lending now. Let's just see what it says. Obviously, I'm not going to. Please connect your crypto wallet. Okay. Obviously, I'm not going to actually use this. Okay, so there's not a whole lot of. Oh, we need to turn the Brave blocker off. Yeah, if you ever have issues on websites and it seems like something's not working, it's probably your Brave browser blocking it automatically. So let's take a look here. We wanted to switch to USDC. Switch to Compound. Okay, so this is. Oh, we need to attach our wallet first. Okay, so it's making us attach our wallet. Well, okay, so you can attach to any one of these wallets. Well, obviously, so Fortmatic, this is the wallet, the logo that we saw earlier. I do have an Ethereum provider on MetaMask. Unfortunately, I probably won't be able to test this out because I have no crypto on my MetaMask, and I guess it's not going to connect anyways. So let's see if there's anything else we can kind of explore. Let's go to About and see what happens here. Okay, so we got some information. Well, let's look. Oh, so they got a token. Okay. Allocation and Pricing, Bridge, Toll, Staking, Utility. Why do you have a token? That's a very good question. I hate the companies that have tokens that do not need them. It's pointless, and it's a scam. Not saying this is a scam, but having a token and not needing it and not having any utility for it is just a way to raise money with no actual value added to it. At least that's what we believe at this point. That may be changing. So tokens enabled aligned incentives and coordination. However, they've also been abused and become a point of contention. Boom. See? They know exactly what I'm looking for. So the Plutus token is utilized in the following ways. Burn, A percentage of the Plutus tokens collected from the network fees are burned. This will reward Plutus holders, can't speak, as adoption grows. Number 2, network fees. Plutus holders have control over the protocol. Plutus is a self-amending network where holders will decide on upgrades and potential fixes. I do like that. These tokens have to be bonded in order to vote. So they're using the voting system, which is self-governance. Of course, a self-amending network where you can decide on the upgrades and potential fixes if you're a holder. I like that. Bonding and governance. So fees will be collected as a percentage of the smart contract payments executed. Plutus tokens are burned as fees as the protocol is utilized. They're definitely not from America since they've used the S and utilized. Staking. A percentage of the fees collected will be paid out to token holders who have tokens staked in a non-custodial staking contract. No node is required to run. Well, then let's look at staking. Let's see what they have for staking here. See what the benefits are. So what is staking? Coin staking gives currency holders incentive to be a part of the network. It gives them the ability to earn a regular income for their, I wouldn't call that income. I would call that just not really dividends either. I guess it's a yield rather for their investments. This is quite similar to how somebody would receive interest for holding money in a bank account. Except if you hold money in a bank account, you aren't going to be getting any interest really because 1, there's no interest, and 2, if you hold your money in a bank account in any fiat really, the likelihood of you actually getting any return on that is very small considering the amount of fiat being printed these days. So really DeFi is a much better solution than any fiat savings account could ever be, at least now. So decentralized infrastructure rely on community participation, of course. So without community participation, there's no decentralized community or infrastructure. And staking is one of the effective mechanics of how participation can be facilitated. Users from the community can stake some or all of their share to participate in the functioning of the project and are either incentivized or penalized based on roles assigned when governing the network. So what are the advantages of staking? Well, we know what the advantages of staking are. Of course, you get community involvement, and you can also get a yield off of your percentage of tokens. So what I want to know is, what is staking with Plutus? Yes, so the ability to stake Plutus tokens will be to get preference based on the following: number of tokens staked and the age of staking. This is typically how the staking works. So you have your total amount of tokens and then for however long they have been staked. That's what gives you a better return. So more tokens plus more time equals more return. So why stake with Plutus? So their burn rate is 0.05% and a stake percentage here. Oh, let's just go through this, make sure I'm not just using examples here. So Plutus's vision is to create and grow DeFi for enterprises, products such as payroll, lending, and derivatives that will be created and executed upon the Plutus network will generate unprecedented transaction volumes. Plutus intends to charge a small fee to facilitate these transactions. Plutus will apply percent basis points and fees for each of these transactions. Across all transactions passing through the network, this fee will be split into the following. Okay, so you have burn and stake. So burn percentage, a percentage of tokens fees will be burnt, thus resulting in a reduced supply. Good. I'd like to know the total supply, which we might get into in a second. But burning is still good. Stake, a percentage of tokens fees will be accumulated, calculated, and distributed to community members who have staked. Great. Okay, that's typically how the staking processes work. Let's see. I want to know. Do we see? Okay, allocation and pricing. Here we go. Okay, so ticker is PLT. All right. So the tokenomics. So total raised 1 million. Total token supply 120 million. It's not terrible. I believe they did a private sale actually. My boy Charles from ZumoPay. He actually participated in the private sale, so he's very happy about that. In their seed, yeah, so in the private round, they have, they sold it for 5 cents. I'm assuming that's what it means, 5 cents there. There's no currency on this, so I'm assuming it's 5 cents. In their seed round, they sold it for 1. So they sold 50 million tokens in their seed round for 1 penny, and 10 million tokens in their private round for 5 cents. Okay, so 500,000, total of 1 million. So they're very transparent about their sale numbers here. I do like that. So obviously in the seed round, if you were very early, token allocation was about 41%. But I want to know, so how much of the, wow, my dog is playing with his toy. Hey, he's just looking at me. He wants to play with his squeaky toy, but he's not allowed. I'm doing a video. So seed round has accumulated for 41% of the entire token allocation. Now that is interesting. They do have a pretty sweet or equal spread across ecosystem, community, foundation. This looks more like I mean, I guess it is a private sale, and it looks more like a private sale as far as allocation goes. So only 8.33% was allocated to the private sale. Employees get 7%. I want to know how much of the seed in the private round did the company buy back into, if they did at all. Token allocation seed, yes, we get all that. We have the numbers, great. So token economics are not terrible at all. Much better than what I've seen in the past. So I will give them props on that. But let's go to Plutus here. So let's go to the overview of their payment protocol. This is what I want to know. I want to know how this baby works. So payment contracts. Plutus's payment contracts enable powerful mechanisms such as scheduled payments, okay? Recurring payments or batched payments, also good. Our contracts have been written in a way where any new payment mechanism can be easily added to the protocol for whatever use cases are required. So the architecture here, the payment protocols run on the Ethereum blockchain through smart contracts written in Solidity, of course. It is an ERC20 token after all. Standard gas fees apply to interact with a smart contract for businesses and consumers. Apart from the transaction fee made during a payment, no additional costs are applied. Considerations have been made to ensure expensive operations, such as S-Store, are minimized where possible. So let's take a look here at what we have. So we have DAI. So this is our example here of how this works. So DAI or USDC at the top here is our, of course, our ERC20 token. This is where we kind of, we take this and we bring it into the lending process. So we bring it here to a transfer proxy. And then from here, this will go to the vendor account. Now, these arrows are all pointing to this transfer proxy. So does this end here? Multi-sig wall with time lock. Okay, cool. Consumer and processor. Okay, so this is the executor here. Okay. So then our transfer proxy is, this is a, trying to figure this out. Executor transaction registry, collectible, generic interface used to hide away implementation details of the actual subscription contract. Okay. Volume, subscription, donation, subscriptions. Okay, so this doesn't really mean much to us, to be honest, right now, because we don't really understand what these different terms mean. So what is a transfer proxy in the first place? And maybe I'm getting a little bit too detailed, but I like to know this kind of stuff, and maybe you do too. So we're going to learn together. So transfer proxy. By having a single component, the transfer proxy, which is authorized and responsible for taking and making payments, we can store the logic for these payments in the executor contract. So these, having a single component, making payments, we can store the so the logic for the making the payments is stored in the executor contract. Okay, So these are all different smart contracts here. The transfer proxy, the executor. Okay, great. And these are all, of course, all on the Ethereum blockchain. So while the logic for payments should be tied to the information returned from the collectible interface, which is here, having a hard coupling could lead to costly immutability down the line. Having a hard coupling. Okay, great. Maybe this is referring to a direct line to the collectible interface. Okay, so I guess there's some kind of, let's see, generic interface used to hide away implementation. So this is, I guess, some kind of interface that hides details. So I guess they don't want to have a direct line or a transparent line of some sort. That's what I'm getting from this. Could be totally wrong. The transfer proxy has an array of authorized addresses which grant access to pull funds from users and pay businesses, although this is controlled by a multi-signature wallet with a time lock of 2 weeks to propagate changes. So this is our transfer proxy right here. The only exception of the time lock is to kill the contract to revoke access to user funds in the case of the attack. So the only exception to the time lock. Okay, so basically the multi-signature wallet has a time lock of 2 weeks. There's no other options around it except for a kill button or a kill switch, which will kill the contract in case of an attack by having multiple authorized addresses. A new executor contract can be deployed and the old one can be deprecated. Cool. So then as soon as it's killed, a new executor contract can be deployed and the old one is gone. When the transfer proxy is called, it uses the ERC20 transfer from function to send DAI directly from the user's wallet to the merchant. So when the transfer proxy is called, so our transfer proxy is essentially, I'm describing the best I can. When we have an execution to transfer, it takes 2 weeks from the multi-signature wallet with a time lock. So when the transfer proxy is called, it uses the transfer from, which I'm assuming this is all maybe not a smart contract, but just a function to send DAI directly from the user's wallet to the merchant. Okay, great. I would like to know why it or how it takes 2 weeks and still. Oh, it must be an off-chain transaction then. So the on-chain transaction doesn't happen until 2 weeks from now. I could be totally wrong about this. And the off-chain transaction does occur immediately and is verified. And this is how they maintain anonymity and privacy and security. Interesting. I'm digging it. Okay. So the executor component is where the core logic and functionality of the smart contract lies. Consumers and and service nodes interact with it directly in order to claim and make payments. Great. So this is where all the logic and functionality of the smart contract is. Okay. Since all subscription contracts adhere to the collectible interface, the logic for how much money should be charged and whether the subscription is valid is in the actual subscription contract. So that is in these contracts here, right? Okay, so I'm assuming these are the actual contracts. This is just the registry. Yeah, it even says it here, yeah. Details of the actual subscription contract. So they're not going to be in this collectible interface. The service node simply interacts with the exposed public methods. The only extra power the service node has is to cancel a user's payment in the case that they don't have enough funds. When a user subscribes to a payment option, the executor calls the transfer proxy to facilitate the transaction and adds a payment to the transaction registry. I think we're almost done, boys and girls. And actually, we'll just take a look at the roadmap at the end here after we get done through this. So, collectible. The initial plans for the architecture included a subscription contract and plan contract for businesses and consumers to interact with, although this creates rigidity when something like a donation subscription contract needs to be implemented, as the user is in full control of how much they want to give rather than the merchant setting a predetermined amount. For this reason, a more general purpose architecture has been made which facilitates the addition of new subscription contracts as long as they adhere to the interface. Currently, the interface methods include check whether the payment is valid, get the payee's balance, return how much the payee owes from their payment, terminate the payment if they don't have enough funds. So it seems simple enough. Seems like a regular interface. And these are all like essentially when the transaction is called upon, it's checking these things, and if it's not, smart contract will not execute. If a payee doesn't have enough DAI to pay for their subscriptions, an email will be sent to them to remind them to top up. These email details and reminders are to be hosted on a centralized server due to the unwanted nature of linking an email address to public key. Very good point. I wouldn't have thought of that at first, but this is a good point. So you do not want to link an email from an email server to the public keys, because obviously that's, what's more important here. Like, if they connect your email to your money, then they obviously know that that's your money. I think I'd rather have an email server or a centralized server be confiscated or be attacked in some form or fashion than I would have, and obviously if that does happen, I would not want to have my public key attached to the email address, implicating that that's obviously my public key. Subscription registry. A subscription registry allows users to view all the services they're currently subscribed to through mapping stored in the contract. Upcoming payments can be viewed and canceled at any time. Blockchain technology provides a far more superior experience, as a user isn't required to find the cancel payment button on a vendor's website since they can call the smart contract directly. Okay, a former user isn't required to find the cancel payment button. Okay. Cool. Roadmap. Let's see what this says. Gotta take this Brave blocker off. Oh, it's coming. It's coming. What is this, an image? Okay. So they have raised and closed the seed round. Yes, they've already done that. Where are they now? Oh, this is 2019. Let's go to 2020 here. Okay, they've already integrated USDC. They're following their roadmap pretty well. They're hiring full stack engineers, or maybe they've already done that. This is kind of a, here, view larger version. It's kind of a weird roadmap. Look here. Here we go. Quarter 2 to 3 is what we're looking at for 2020. Bridge fee, develop dashboard, APR interest display. These are all checked off. So they're already way ahead. So DeFi lending balance tracking is coming up. Oh, DeFi debit cards. Now that is interesting. DeFi lending into Africa via mobile credits. That's also interesting. DeFi as a service SDK. So they, it looks like they do not have the SDK yet. That's what it seems like. What else do we have here? Payment processor built on the site. Oh, they want to integrate TUSD. Okay. Integrate payment via ETH to stablecoin via, or sorry, DEX. Great. So they got a lot of very good roadmap goals here. I like it. Great. Well, ladies and gentlemen, so we just reviewed Plutus DeFi. Now, based on what I have learned and what hopefully you've learned with me today, I would ultimately have to say that I think Plutus DeFi, it certainly looks legit, and it certainly looks to be solving some issues with DeFi, some pain points that I'm sure are affiliated with privacy, anonymity, and security, because I know DeFi does require some kind of centralized interaction in some form or fashion if you want a really good DeFi protocol. But obviously with this, it seems to address the pain points and still give people that privacy, anonymity, and security that they still seek while being able to access DeFi protocols that work for them. So, great stuff. I think they have a great roadmap. Seems like the token economics are very decent. And I think that I like the structure. They pulled a seed round and then a private round instead of going from just going straight on an exchange like most 2017 ICOs did. So I like it. I'm into it. So if you guys enjoyed this video, if you thought this was helpful for you and you learned something with me today, make sure you click the like button and also subscribe. I'm going to do more videos like this on DeFi projects and companies, and we're going to learn together. We're going to figure all this stuff out. And if you want to see more of this content, like I said before, subscribe. And I will see you all in the next video. Peace.